I had $1 for every time I heard the sentence in the lesson, but it worked better at home. I heard that sentence a lot, and I'm sure if you're teaching or doing any kind of coaching, or of course playing and going to a lesson and feeling what the sentence is actually saying, yes, it worked better in the safety of your practice room. But let's look at what happens when we go into performance. What is the hardship of performance? You go in front of people and you're nervous. It is definitely not a safe place, the stage. And you are watched from the front, and if you're playing with an orchestra, from the back as well. And you need to, on the spot, first time, play everything right, as close to perfection as you can. In your mind, you want to be as perfect as the perfect recording that you hear on YouTube of your favorite violinist. And if we look at what is the practice room is the opposite. The practice room is a safe place where you can train, retrain, stop, play again, go have a coffee, come back, sit down and watch your TikTok, and then try it again, and until it works, and then you're warmed up and you've been playing for 2 hours, and you're there and it worked. And then you go on stage, you go to a lesson, you go to a performance, you go on stage, and the feeling is completely different. Also, if we think about the energy and your consciousness, where it's going, if you're practicing, you're playing something and you are looking at behind your shoulder, you're looking at what have I just done, and was it in tune, was it nice, was it musical. You're looking backwards and you are thinking, should I do it again, should I practice this again. You're all the time monitoring what you've just done. When you're on stage and you're performing, you're not looking back. You are, on the contrary, looking back and commenting on what you just did is disaster. You need to be absolutely forward all the time, and what you played is what you played. You try your best, you played it, it's gone. Now you need to just continue playing. So this kind of discrepancy between the safety of the practice room and going on stage and performing with anxiety and the need to be in a different head zone is the cause of that kind of failure. Like, it worked better in a room. Of course it worked better in a room. You're not applying any of the pressure that you're going to feel when you're going to be on stage. And no matter how much you practice, you're never going to feel on stage what you feel in a practice room, because it's safe. I mean, have you have that to happen to you when you're practicing and somebody steps into the practice room? It could be your mother, it could be your teacher, it could be your friend, and suddenly you're playing, and suddenly it's like, everything, because suddenly you're performing, suddenly everything's changes. So the smart practice is to, do everything. I'm not saying practicing, you should be practicing looking backwards. You should always monitor, but then have some time, especially before performance, when you are trying to apply the pressure of the performance in the practice room. So you kind of like adjust yourself to a different head frame, we call it, let's say, okay, the way you're thinking, the way you're concentrating, and the fact that you are supposed to be restricted with where you're sitting or standing or turning pages or playing by heart. All of these things are you're going to have to do on stage, and if you're not practicing those elements in the practice room, obviously you're going to feel not as good when you're going to be performing, and sometimes complete and utter failure happens. How do we apply pressure in the practice room? That first of all, it's a lot of head games, imagining playing to a recording device, playing to people, playing with an open window if your neighbors are not going to shoot you, and of course trying to go on stage as much as possible and get the pressure more and more if possible. If you're playing with an orchestra in Carnegie Hall, Maybe you're going to try to play with an orchestra before, not the biggest hall in the world. Sometimes it doesn't work. You need to just that the concert lands on you, and that's what you do. But you try to do some performances, especially if you're students. Try to do some student performances, home performances. Go and play to people. Go and volunteer in elderly homes and play to do performances. But also, when you are practicing, tell yourself, right, I just practiced 2 hours, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to come back and play the entire Mendelssohn concerto beginning to end and see what happens with the recording device. And learn from that experience, learn the failure points, and try to figure out what happened to them, and then hopefully you'll do better on stage. So that was me. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll tell you all the secrets.